Hey guys, BJ back. It's that time of the week. We are going to look at the Shadowverse Worlds Beyond Meta Snapshot. We're now into week 5 of the Infinity Beyond, which is the set 2. Since the game was launched, and set 3 is quite close, to be honest. I think we're about a week and a half away from starting to see some of the reveals. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely feeling ready for it. So the meta's pretty settled. Let's do what we always do. Let's jump into the 4 tiers, and then I'm going to share some decks of interest, right? I'm not going to go through every single deck in the meta. You've got all the links on my previous snapshots, but I'm going to really bring you up to speed with what's going on right now. All right, this is it, guys. This is how I see the current meta. Now, a few changes from last week. I did think about Rose Queen combo being a little bit higher, mainly because I've been playing a little bit of it this week, and we have actually had a really interesting Reddit post where this guy played nothing but Master Diamond and sort of shared a really lengthy breakdown on the Reddit about how to play this deck. So I've been playing his deck, and it's okay. Like, I still don't want to put it above tier 4. You know, I did wonder, do I put it in tier 3? But I still think it's a meme, but it's a bloody fun meme, that's for sure. So that ain't gone nowhere. What I have done is I've dropped the Kagemitsu sword. I feel like the way sword has developed in this set is we're really seeing quite intricate differences. It's really about 4 to 5 cards that kind of get teched. You know, do you play the Ceres? Do you play the Rose Queen or the heal card? Do you play the Tentacles at the end? Or do you play the new 8-drop kind of stunt, lock everything down? But really what I'm seeing is it's these intricacies in the differences between the decks. Ultimately, it's mid-range sword, right? It's ultimately, is it a little bit more geared to the aggro, or a bit more geared towards value and just outvaluing the opponent? And the Kagemitsu sword just it's not, it doesn't really deserve a spot here because it's not really a feature anymore. It was in the first set, in the Legends Rise set for sure, but not really in this set. So I've dropped that out of here. Now, what else? I think the top 3 have stayed the same, to be honest. I think very well established spell boost, mid-range sword. These are the most consistent decks in the meta. They're fantastic on ladder. They're good in tournaments. Combo Roach is tier 1 because the power ceiling is very high if you are a skillful player and can see the 1,000,001 possible lines of play every turn. And more importantly, it's a really good counter to spell boost, and decent against sword. I actually think mid sword can do a bit better against Combo Roach at the minute, because if you're running like 3 Amelias and 3 Amalias and 3 Luminous Mages, then it gets a bit harder for Roach. But I still think Combo Roach gives those 2 decks a really good run for its money. So it's a tier 1 deck. Now, there have been a few interesting developments this week, right? I have actually put Ward Haven back into tier 2. Most of you probably know by now, if you've been watching the channel, that Ward Haven actually was one of the 2 decks that took down the SV Open kickoff finals, right? Shout out to Ars21. Awesome job winning that with his Ward Haven deck and his version of Mid Abyss. And speaking of which, Mid Abyss has gone up a little bit in the tier 2, and I think that's because last week I kind of mentioned that people were testing and trialing. Well, I've got an interesting deck. I'm no longer calling this Mid/Control Abyss. I'm calling this Mid Abyss because I feel like the deck I'm about to show you is really a true mid-range deck now. It can turn on the aggro, or it can kind of control a little bit. But it feels like a true mid-range deck. So there's been quite a few changes. I'm going to share that list with you today. What else has changed? I think the fish ramp deck that we talked about was the big thing last week. I think that's still there as a kind of probably at the bottom of tier 2. I still think it's better than Fenny and Storm. It kind of does the best of both of them. And then the other one is to watch is going to be Earthrune, because Earthrune is being teched a little bit at the minute. People are seeing it as playing the tempo version as a kind of maybe a bit of a counter to Roach and Sword, but I don't think it's quite over the line yet. I don't think it's quite superseded. There are some top players like testing this and making some changes, so we'll see how that one develops in the final week. But all the rest is pretty standard. How I have got my Storm Raven still here in tier 3. Just released a full guide for this deck, so go and check that out on the channel. This deck is really cool, and honestly, it could be slightly higher than where I've got it. It really could be slightly higher. I haven't played it enough to confidently put it in tier 2, so I've left it here. But it's a fun deck, and it's pretty good. Right, let's guys, just to say, just for reference, right, there are tons of other decks that you can play and build, right? This is meant to be reflective of what is played in the meta, and all, you know, certainly the top 3 tiers. These are all good decks. These are all good decks for you to take on ladder and play, right? It's just that the tier 1s are clearly above the rest. So let's jump in and take a look at a few of the decks then. So that Rose Queen combo deck that I was telling you about, like I say, there's a massive article about this on Reddit. I have to say I really like the Dwarven Mallet Man as a card. This is a card I'd really love to play more. I'm really hoping in the next set that we can do a few different things with Forest. I really want to see a slightly more mid-rangey, potentially control, but more of a mid-rangey kind of Forest deck, because I actually think cards like Dwarven Mallet Man are really good. Anyway, that said, this is the deck that that I've been playing around with this and following the Reddit guide, and it's actually pretty good. You know, you've got lots of ways to get your obviously handful of 1-drops. And once you get to turn 5, you've got things that compete with the board quite well, like the Glade, the Mallet Man, the Arians, and the Limarga. But what you're trying to do is kind of like empty your hand of those types of cards by the time you hit turn 9, right? Because then you're going to Rose Queen, you're probably going to Super Evo Rose Queen at that point in the game to kind of compete on the board. And then next turn, you should have, you know, anywhere between sort of 5 and 7 1-drop Brambles, and if you've got 7, then you can kill your opponent from full health, obviously, because 7 3s at 21. Maths, BJ. But often, you know, if you've chipped away a little bit, maybe you only need 15 damage, maybe you only need 5. So that's kind of like what you're trying to do with that deck. I definitely recommend. I'll try and remember to put the link to the Reddit post in the description. Next up, we've got the Amulet Haven. This is the deck that I built a full deck guide around, so I won't go too much into it here. Go and watch that deck guide. There's some brilliant games, and I break this deck down in detail. I actually really love this deck. I actually think this deck's got a lot of potential. I by no means feel like I've mastered it, but I think I did pretty well with it. And like I said, it could be. It's one of the ones that, when I look at my tier list, I think, could this be a bit higher? Possibly could. Next up, we've got the Tempo Fairy. Nothing much has changed since last week here. If you don't want an all-out Roach combo approach, it has still got Roach. You can still do mini Roach combos. But what you're trying to do is control the board early, get things like Fate Twinkle Toes, where you build more substantial fairy boards, right? Where you can do 2-3 damage per unit, and then essentially you just chip away at your opponent, and then you maybe finish them off with a small Roach combo. You've also got the triple Aria in there, so that your fairies can just go face, right? It's a fun alternative way of playing Forestcraft for sure. Like we talked about the Earthight deck earlier, guys. I have to say I have not played much with Earthight. It's just one of the archetypes that I just haven't got round to kind of so my knowledge of this deck is really not great, to be honest. All I can tell you is that it's a very tempo based deck, and it has got powerful cards at each part of the curve. And obviously the idea with the Lanthium end game is that this card has aura, so it can't be banished by Odin's, which is a super powerful counter right now because Odin's everywhere. And it's just kind of got a degree of inevitability, providing that you've built up enough Witch Brew. Next up, we've got the Midrange Dragon deck that we talked about last week. Went into a lot of detail on this last week, and I've got a full guide again on the channel. So if you're interested in this deck, go and watch that guide. It's a really fun deck, and I actually saw Ignidius actually promote. He released a similar video this week, quite recently, and I think that was from. He picked that list up from some top player, and I think that deck was very similar, but it had a few more at the end. So I think it ran something like triple Genesis Dragon, triple Twilight, or double Twilight, something like that. So slightly heavier on the kind of ramping up. But either way, I do think that this type of approach to Dragon is the best way to play Dragon right now. I think it's better than Storm. I think it's better than Fenny. So go and check out the full video guide if you're interested to know more. And then obviously we have the Ward Haven deck. So this is Rs21's version that took down the kickoff finals last week. And again, shout out and congratulations to him. Amazing achievement. And, you know, Ward Haven is not a tier 1 deck, guys, but it is fantastically good into combo Roach. So please don't just take this on ladder and expect to get like a 90% win rate, because you won't. Ours took it specifically in that tournament format. He made the correct read that a lot of people would be bringing Roach, which they did, because Roach counters Sword and Rune very well. And he just countered the counter, right? And obviously this is a hard counter to combo Roach. So that's why he took it in the tournament format. It's fun to run on ladder. You'll do all right with it for sure. But don't expect to, you know, have that super high win rate. You will lose to some of the top tier 1 decks. Yeah, I showed this one last week as well. No changes here. I really like this interesting Twin Blade Goblin in the Puppet deck. Other than that, the deck's very, very standard. I always say this is like the 50... You've got a 50-50 shot against everything with this deck. It's a good one too. I think if someone was only going to run one faction, or what would say one class and play free-to-play, this would be a really good one, because kind of like feels like it's just always going to have a chance against everything. So yeah. Next up, we have got the this is the interesting one this week. This is the true mid-range Abyss deck. So what we can see here is that previously we had the aggro shell, right? The all-in aggro, and we also had a version that we were calling like mid/control, and it ran the 999 drops, the Jinsetsus, and all that. What this has done is gutted some of the cards from that deck, and it's put some of the aggro tools in. So it's sped up with things like the triple cultivator, which, bear in mind, not only does that mean you can have a turn 1 play, but it also means that it puts 3 ghosts in hand. And so then you start going, well, if I've got 3 ghosts in hand, like maybe cards like Exceller could be really good, right? Because obviously the Exceller gets bigger the wider the board that we've got. Well, that gives us a really good Storm unit to have more reach. So let's bring in the triple mummies, right? Because they have Storm too. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is that you've now got these aggressive lines that you can take with a lot more reach. You've got the triple Rage of Serpents in there, and of course you've still got triple Memorials, and all of those things combo very, very well with Olivia. They combo very, very well with Cerberus, right, where you can kind of buff the damage that goes to face, and of course you've got triple Odin as well. So it's a very, very aggressive version of a mid-range deck, and I've definitely not mastered it, but I have seen now a number of top players that have been moving in this direction with Abyss and putting up really good results. So definitely one to go and play and test out yourself. The other thing as well is you've got some quite powerful mid-game stuff with obviously things like Gravy giving you the removal, and Charon being able to bring back things like cards like Philodoo, right? Meaning that you can then evo the Philodoo and remove units. So it's some nice kind of mid-range control. Really, really good deck, guys. Really good deck. And I would actually say that it reminds me a bit of the Fish Ramp deck in the sense that I do think that this is where the kind of counter to the meta is. I almost made a video called Why You Should Be Playing Mid-Range, because I do think there's something here, there's some insight here about like what the counter to the meta is. It is in this kind of aggressive mid-range space. So I'll just leave it at that for now. If you want to see a video on that, then let me know down in the comments. All right, in terms of the Aggro Abyss, though, still very powerful. The double Baltro I really like, and I like Mandu's list from the playoffs. He ran double Apollo, and I think this is actually really clever because this deck can get shut out by Sword when they go wide with the ward boards. Then you know, a lot of your Storm units can't get through. So if you've actually got double Apollo and you time that right, that can actually be the difference between winning or losing against Sword. So yeah, I do think that this is an optimal version right now for the current meta. Then we've got Artifact. Now, again, there's not a lot to say here because it hasn't changed. This deck seems to be pretty bog standard every week, but it's really, really powerful. So it's a great counter to things like Sword. If all you're playing against on ladder is Sword, then maybe you want to test this out. But it's not an easy deck, and also some people complain that it feels a bit slow and boring, like to run. I don't know about that, but I do think your games are probably a little bit longer. next up, sorry, into tier 1, we've got the combo Roach deck, and this version, I think last week we talked a bit more about a version that competed with the early game more with the one drop. Forgotten the name of the fairy. One drop, when it dies, it puts a fairy in hand. You can go down that route. I've shared this version with you this week. I've seen, again, a lot of top Forest streamers playing this, and they seem to not feel like that is necessary. And it's just, you know, a single Limaga is the only card that costs more than 5 to play, because it's all about combo. Everything is combo 3, right? Like the Journey Elf and the Lily, they're all combo 3, and the Ambush, right? So and the Lambert, these are all combo 3. So you need cheap units to be able to do that. And of course, at the end game is all about the Roach, and so you need the triple staff to draw. Lily can draw, Glade can draw, and I think one of the big additions is people now seem to be playing the full set of triple Gardens Allure, and I think that's really good when you're playing a combo deck, because why would you not maximize card draw in a deck that is just trying to find all of the pieces it needs for a combo, right? So this is looking really, really solid to me, to be honest. Okay, now when it comes to mid-range sword, this is a version I'm sharing this week because I actually feel, I mean, it's getting to a point where I don't know whether objectively we can kind of say what is the best sword deck. I think it's more a case of 85% of the deck is tier 1, and the other 15% is all about what is it that you're trying to do. Like, what is the meta that you're trying to counter? What are the matchups where you're trying to eke out just a few more percentage on your win rate against? So it's not a matter of like, this is better than another version. But for me personally, something like this is kind of where I'm coming down on as the overall best, because you know, the single Grimnir being in there, I kind of like. I think Seria is a weird card in a way, because it can be absolutely amazing situationally, right? But then it can also quite often be a card where you're wishing you had any other 2-drop. So like 2 of them seems about right, and you know, especially in like tournaments where you've got Forest and Fairies and other sword players, it's kind of good there. I like the 2 1-drops, and I prefer the Tentacles, I have to say. Like, the single Tentacles is interesting. It is that 5 additional damage. You know, you can, for example, Owlbear on 9. Let's say they've healed up to 14, 15 because they know about the Owlbear combo. So you play Owlbear still, and you put them down to 2 or 3, and the next turn you hit them with the Tentacles. The other thing, though, is sometimes you actually use this as a removal to buy you another turn and to heal 5. And I think that that's really interesting. You can imagine in the mirror match, you know, where you're in Albert range, all of a sudden you play this, you heal out of Albert range. I just like the flexibility. It's really expensive, by the way, to play it that way. But at the end of the day, if it ends the game, right, if you've got your opponent down to 4 and you're out of Super Evos and you're out of Storm units, and you just play this for 7 to win the game, then it doesn't matter how expensive it is. So, yeah, this is a super good version of Mid-Sword. And last but not least, we have the spell boost. And again, I've seen people tinkering with how many Williams do you run versus Flames of Chaos, and you know, do you run there's about 4 to 5 cards that people are tinkering with, but ultimately, you know, 90% of this shell now is pretty much established. It's super powerful. I would say this: if mid-range sword generates probably the best value in the game per, you know, card for card, like the value that you get on sword units is insane. I would say that Runecraft can break the mana system better and cheat the mana system better than any other deck in the game, and that's largely down to declines. But it's not just that; it's the discounts that you get on cards like Demonic Call costing 0, or the insane uncapped benefits that you get from a William, or you know, a 1-cost Stormy Blast that does 27 removal because you've got so much spell boost, right? Like, the ability to cheat the mana system, the play point system, is absolutely unrivaled, and that's really why Sword and Rune are the top 2 decks right now, to be honest. So yeah, that is it, guys. That is the Meta Snapshot for week 5 of the Infinity Rise set. If you enjoyed this, please hit that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel, and if you want more gameplay and deeper dives into some of these decks, then go and check out the guides on the channel. Really appreciate all the support, guys, as ever. I am actually going away on holiday next week, so I may well not be releasing one of these for a couple of weeks, going away on a family holiday. I'll be back on the 1st of September, and so expect a small break in the content from me, but I will be back with a vengeance with the new set in September. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, check out this video next.